Oh, okay.
Oh, 5.
Bye. Love you.
Man.
Bye. Oh, and I'm tired. Fix the brakes.
Oh. I gotta mute my phone. I'm ready.
That's coming.
Okay.
Ashley's here way over there in the corner.
Yeah. We have one more walking in the door in just a second.
Made it.
That's what I said.
Get Tyson off the charter to the summer school and da. It's like, okay. Good morning. Hi, Deb. How are you?
Okay.
Okay, it's good. Short.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the June 19th, 2024 Park and Tree Committee. As we start, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hey, stand up. Wait a minute. Okay, here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We got it.
Hey. Yeah, I did.
Drink your coffee. Drink your coffee. Wait a minute.
Yeah, we're off.
For the record,
We want to do that again.
That's
for the record.
that's what happens when you get home at 12:30 this morning. Yep. So a quick administrative break in our meeting. Adam's going to go over the microphones for everyone since they're new.
Scary. Very.
Yeah, they're definitely longer than what you're used to. So super easy to use. They're just like your old ones. So your button in the middle is your mute or hot. So if the button is pushed in and it's short, that is mute. Popped out, you're live. Please don't try to bend them in the middle. This is solid and it will break. They do bend down at the bottom and also up at the top. So if you need to go to the side and then bring it back to you, that's fine. Just please don't bend them in the middle.
Hey, Adam,
Yeah.
mine, if you press it in, the light comes on and press.
So those are different.
So ours are on right now.
Yep.
Yeah, ours are special.
It
Yep.
doesn't turn.
There's our different.
Great. Thank you. Diane, could you do a roll call, please?
Committee member Matthew Bechtel,
Present.
committee member Lena Tucker,
Present.
vice chair Bob Dalton,
Here.
committee chair Wally Shreves,
Present.
committee member Nancy Patton,
Here.
and committee member Deborah Northern.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Note all members are present. Time reports. I reported our minutes for our time for the safety fair. It's already been sent in. So
Thank you.
if anybody has anything else that I don't know of, please send that in to Angela and Diane.
He takes care of us.
Yes. Please look over the meeting minutes and then I need a motion and a motion to approve.
I looked over mine before I came and I found one thing that I'm confused about.
What
So on
page?
Cut the Gut checkpoint, page,
Second page.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
It's almost the last page. Okay. Says the checkpoint will be in upper parking lot by the bridge. I didn't know that there's a bridge in the upper parking lot. I'm confused. The checkpoint will be in the upper parking lot by the bridge.
So it probably should be the northern parking lot on Lower Sankey Park.
Oh, so
So
we'll be by
yeah,
the bridge.
it's the northern
not the
parking lot
upper.
by the bridge,
So
so.
the word upper
But
could go away.
we're gonna talk about that because this is now null and void anyway, but for the minutes, it would be the northern parking lot.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve.
I second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Noted meeting minutes are approved for the last meeting. Let's move on to cut the gut. And,
Public comment.
oh yeah, thank you. Public comments.
Ashley?
Anybody online that wants to pipe in? The hundreds that are out there? Nope. And the streak continues. Now let's move on to cut the gut. As Angela said, I think we're all aware that the location for the cut the gut has changed. Our location for cut the gut will be as it's been here at City Hall. We will be working with the police department. There was already one city function working for it, so rather than do two, try to hit two different places. We're not doing Sankey Park. The group that we were going to do with at Sankey Park is going to do their own. They're not.
So Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. They went and tested turning the cars around and it doesn't work. So
Okay.
they are also going to join over here. So
Wow.
I believe that to be true, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
Hmm.
like-
I could have showed them how to get those cars turned around. I could have turned it around.
There's a
Right
will,
on
there's
the
a way.
grass.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Anyways, end of story. We're here, City Hall, July 12th. It's a Friday. It's in the evening. And I've already met with the, at least the police officer that's running it, and Diane, whom I think works at the, community center. And they've done it years upon years. So we're just linking up with them. We're going to support them. We're going to bring our swag, our tables out there. We'll have the icon for people to link their donation to the park. And there's a hope and a prayer that the Dollenberg Bridge could get brought over here by then, but that's a hope and a prayer. That's something that they're working on. So we'll see. Because that still makes a nice photography point for them. And it did leave a lot of confusion over how you would do the traffic if we put the bridge out front as they talked about, because that messes up the traffic flow. But it's pretty simple to me. I'm working with the police. That's what they do. So I didn't worry about it. I told them it's all yours.
So Chairman, just a question. Do you want, so to put the QR code on for the payment, do you want like a half page flyer, full page flyer? How would you guys like that? Do you want it just to emphasize what the money is going to, or do you just want to donate to parks? How do you want those to look?
Bob?
We hadn't really talked about that yet, so I just need to know so I can get working on them.
I
Yeah.
can picture a quarter page flyer, something a little bit smaller and easier to hand out to them.
I want them to
That's just a
scan it
thought.
while they're there.
Can
Yeah,
you
that's
make it-
good too.
Well, I can make one big one that
Yeah.
could stand up on the table that they
Yeah.
could scan, and then I could make smaller ones that you could hand them. So does
Yes.
that work?
Yes.
Okay. And do you want like the bridge, to emphasize the bridge? Is that what we're going for on these?
I would think we're going for the,
Amphitheater.
yeah, the community center bandstand.
Okay, so you want to focus on the bandstand? Do you want
Correct.
a QR code for both, or do you want to just emphasize the?
I think on the,
Parks plan.
once you get into it, you can define it where it goes, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll just put, you can donate to multiple ones and then have the QR code. Okay,
correct.
I just wanted to confirm that.
Should we have a donation can too? I have a big plastic
Yeah.
water bottle.
We have no problem with doing that. Yeah.
Big.
Yep. And hundreds will fit in it just fine.
That's right.
I will not be there for Cut the Gut. So,
What?
I'm gonna be gone July and part of August, so
Wow.
you guys are on your own. But I'll pass along the information that I got from the people, and we're gonna have a couple more meetings before then, so again, our part is fairly minimal. We're there to support them, and the only thing that I know that they talked about doing is they have a car quiz, like an automobile quiz. Like, I'm guessing something like, what was the last year Studebaker was made? That's the question I would have asked. So, huh? No, I don't know the year, but
Ask Dave that one.
yep.
No.
What was,
Yeah, it is.
60
What-
something.
what
Yeah.
was the first year of the Mustang? Was it
64 and a half.
ex-
No, 60,
64 and a half? I have one.
yes,
64.
64. No,
It's a 64.
60s.
I even have the metal thing that goes with it. Anyway,
You better get
for the
this-
record,
Yeah.
Your meeting's off. Your meeting's off going right.
Okay, back to cut the gut.
Yep.
What time is set up?
I think, yeah, that's why I said I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Because my brain hadn't linked back to that meeting yet today. They're gonna start early in the day because City Hall is closed. So they were talking about like noon to come in and set up their stuff, which they're gonna do a lot more than we're gonna do.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're gonna put up a table and an awning. So ours is fairly simple. It may be good if somebody could get here earlier, just to have that out there and in case they need some help with setting stuff up. But they're gonna do traffic cones and traffic patterns and make sure that everything works and check it all out in advance. So, and then if we have the bridge, that's when it'll get a little more complicated on our part. So I have a photographer already lined up, although it's different than I thought it was. So we'll have to work that out. I've never been to a Cut the Gut event. So
it's fun,
I don't think I've ever been to a car show. So
fun.
other than the racetrack, because I prefer to act than just watch. So I thought that they would buy their pictures, professional photos. And according to them, they had somebody take the pictures, load them onto a page, and then people could just go on there and pull them off. So, which is cool. It just means I have to get a hold of the person I requested and see what they think about that, since they normally get paid.
The chamber did that at their banquet.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions on Cut the Gut? Let's move on to ivy removal. And I would just like to start by saying, I think that was the most productive ivy removal day we've ever had. That we pulled ivy from clear up at the south end of that area, all the way down almost to the stream down there. And there was a lot of ivy removed
Yes, there was.
and cut free. I've never seen that much removed. So I was pretty stoked with that. And looking back upon what we did last year, it was dead ivy all over in the trees. So
Yes.
it was effective. And then going back to the kids ripping the ivy out of the ground and rolling it was a great thing as well, because that'll keep it from coming back. So at some point, we do need to do the spray that kills the ivy. And I think this is the time of the year to do it. No?
Angela says,
Okay.
okay.
No,
Yeah.
fall, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we'll be good to do it this fall.
Here, have some more coffee today.
Thank you. I can't wait to get to the next subject to see how that one goes. Yeah. Yeah. So anybody else have some input for the ivy pull that we did? 'Cause we were there.
I
I-
wasn't.
I
Yeah.
agree with Wally. It was a very productive session that we had. Work party. Call it. Yes.
Yeah. And we had additional people with us. So that was nice. So we'll move on to another ivy removal in the future.
Okay.
We do have a question though. We cannot figure out when we're standing out there where does Sankey Park go when you go down the
Far
hill?
back.
So when we follow the old railroad tracks down the hill, they go basically all the way down to the stream. How far to the right then does it go?
So I can print off a map for you, but when you're going down, are the stairs still there?
Mhm.
So I think the stairs are kind of the border. If I
Okay,
remember right. Next meeting, I'll print you off a map, but I'm pretty sure the stairs that go down, that's kind of the border, because you see those pylons, the old
Mhm.
bridge, that's on the other side. So I think
Okay.
it's between those and the stairs of where that borderline is.
okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's where it is,
Yeah.
because when I surveyed the creek, that's where we started, was right
Oh,
there and came
okay.
down.
Yeah, I just know when we looked, what would have been southeast of there, I'm fearless and all that ivy scared the heck out of me. I mean,
There's a
it
lot.
was giant amounts, giant trees with ivy all over them back
Mhm.
up through the creek there.
Let me look at the map, because we also have property that runs along the creek, but I don't think it's on that side. I think it's on the other side, but I will confirm that, and I'll just email you all a map,
Thank you.
an aerial map, and show
Yeah.
you where that is.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
because we kind of need to know that when we're planning our next ivy removal, because we made a lot of progress. So if we can figure out how we end it, that would be great.
Because Blair told us one time the property along the creek, we can use someday for trails.
Not the whole way, that's a city property, and part of the problem is there is private property that kind of weaves through there, so it would be nice if we could get that, and topography wise, but I will send you out that boundary map, at least so you have an idea of
Sweet.
how that all works through there. I'll send one of the park itself, and
Sure.
then kind of that extended area that goes all the way to Mountain View.
Okay, thank you. So new business, let's move on to the safety fair report. So the safety fair was this last Saturday, ran from 9 to 12. We had our booth set up. I will say that the safety fair this year, I think, was better attended by people, and I think it's due to it being in Sankey Park than it has been in the past years that we conducted it. And the only thing that we learned theoretically was that it's still windy,
Yeah.
and I left the rocks in the box.
Yeah.
So next time we need to use the box, there's rocks in there to hold all the flyers and bulletins down.
Your box is a mess. We didn't do it like you do it, but it's
That's
okay.
That's okay. Did you have what you needed?
Yeah.
I think so.
Is that why it was backbreaking when you brought it in to lift it? Now I understand why.
Those rocks.
Anybody else have any report back or your thoughts on the safety fair, things we need to improve on?
Stock of the box,
Yeah,
gave out almost all the stickers.
Oh. Oh, wow. Okay. Good stuff.
I'll take a look at it and touch base with you, Lena. I'll kind
Okay.
of take some inventory. We'll take a look.
and just a key note for those on the committee. I mean, this isn't, I don't think it's gonna happen, but for some reason I take a dirt nap between now and next safety fair. We're the Park and Tree Committee, and the tree really is the safety part of the safety fair. And that's what we focused on. So when I talk to I always get asked every year, well, how does the Park and Tree Committee actually have anything to do with safety? It's like, well, you want trees falling on you, and how do you take care of your trees and the fires that happen around your home? Here's the brochures, here's the items you don't want up against your house. And on the park side, I remind people that the parks are there to keep kids out of the street. And when they made the first city park in New York back in the day, that was the reason for it, was to get kids out of the street and into a park to differentiate
Play.
cars and people traffic. So, but just in case,
That's good.
Thank
I
you.
do a lot of stupid things, so somebody else needs to know that, because I answer that every year at the police station. How do you guys have an effect on them? Thinking I told you the last 3 years, so now they've been told 4.
But they love having the park brochure.
Yeah,
They love that. They go, well, we didn't know there was this many parks in Sweet Home.
yeah,
That's really a plus.
yep, absolutely.
And I also liked it because we did the ribbon cutting for the new swing set. That was awesome. People enjoyed that.
Yes,
Thank you.
Mhm.
That was really neat to see. And as far as the whole safety fair was concerned, we had a fantastic turnout
Mhm.
this year. And we've only really heard positive things, and people are excited to go to it next year and things like that. So I think it was a really excellent event. And the ribbon cutting, it was exciting to see that many people there for a ribbon cutting because we don't always see that in the city either. So that was neat. And we still are getting reports that those swings are pretty much being used constantly.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
So which is fantastic.
That's good.
So
And
great job, everybody.
We can hear you, Kelsey.
I know. It's kind of awesome, isn't
This
it?
is good, yes.
Did you all also
Yes,
notice the
I love
amazing?
this.
Have you heard the story?
No,
No.
tell
Okay.
us.
So this wood is actually gifted to us by Lynn County Parks.
Hmm.
And um and and it's entirely made by our public works team.
Yay.
100%.
Right.
So, which is phenomenal craftsmanship. And
Beautiful.
normally a dais like this would be tens of thousands of dollars. And as it is, it was done in house. So
Beautiful.
it's pretty exciting. So, and it was.
Oh.
All my staff, Sean, Dominic, Tommy.
Mhm.
Great job. He has a new position. That's right. New position. Yeah, it was great. I
So I'll
loved
be
it.
talking
Thank
about
you.
it a little bit more at the next council meeting, but just you guys get to get the sneak peek,
Nice.
which is pretty cool.
So Greg, I have an 80-foot redwood tree down. Very big. It's a big one.
That could be cool.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say one more thing about the safety fair before we get off of it.
Yeah.
I think that it was much safer
Oh,
at the park there because,
In the police station?
when we're at the police station / Bimart parking lot,
Yeah.
you got cars coming in and out and all the time. It's a
Yeah.
safety fair was very safe at the park.
Yeah.
And I think we
yeah,
should
you mean kids
continue
were
to
off
have
the
it there.
street and
Yeah.
in where they belong in a park.
That's right.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And by the way, I walked in when they were unloading these and I had no idea what they were for. So now seeing I saw the unloading and now I saw the end. I didn't even put it together. These were different. So
I didn't either.
if that makes you feel any better about my mishap with the Pledge of Allegiance and everything else, I don't even know a new table's in front of me. So,
Hold it. I thought it was opposite. Okay, well, you can hear me. So they took the raw material, they slabbed it. They took 2-3 weeks to dry it properly. They took time, multiple sanding through a
Mhm.
kind of a planer sander, flipped them over and make sure that they were filled. They were sanded again. They really were all hands-on, and I think they're glad that they're done. They're beautiful.
Beautiful.
But it was all handmade by 3 people, pretty
It's
much.
beautiful.
Nice.
And also notice the bench out front.
yes.
I noticed the
So
bench.
That
Saw
was
that.
also made by our public works team, and that's the prototype for some other potential benches going in our parks and along those same lines of picnic tables and things like that. So
Awesome.
that's something that under Greg's leadership and so forth too, they're going to be able to do in the winter time, when it slows down a little bit. And so forth. So, and when you look at how a bench like that, if you look at some of the parks catalogs, Angela and I were looking at that, and it was what, $3,000?
Mm.
So it's a tremendous boost to our community.
I don't know if anybody cares, but we have this in our kitchen and ours isn't this thick, but we paid $1,600 just for our wood. And we had it, what you're talking about. Ours isn't laminated like this though, but yeah, they're expensive, but it's beautiful too. I love this. Love, love, love it.
Is there any filler? If you look at some of those knots, you might see some color.
A little bit.
Not that I
So-
can tell.
It's right actually under your stuff there. Um,
Oh,
there's a
Oh.
couple different spots
That-
and it's the same
Oh.
Sweet Home green.
Huh. Okay.
nice. But
And if you look a little closer, you might even see a little hint of some glitter in there.
Oh,
Little. I think they.
We like the
It
glitter.
could be a different table too. Anyway,
this is for the record, Mrs. Brown.
and when I get close, I do smell the hint of coffee.
Moving on.
This is a potential revenue stream for the public works, it's like the pea gravel.
Yes,
and-
it's a potential revenue stream. It's also a way that we can continue any trees that need to be felled for safety reasons or anything along those lines. We can reuse them in our community. It also plays tribute to our milling and timber history as well.
USA.
Exactly, in
That's
Tree
right.
City, USA. So, I think we're all kind of hoping, particularly in our public facilities, to see more of this. And there's potential for Public Works to have this as a revenue stream that would also, we're hoping that some of the other businesses around will be interested in adopting some of this and we can get sort of that unified feel while it's still being local and just
Awesome.
part of our community.
Part of
Beautiful.
our history.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. So let's move on to the health fair. And I'm going to let Bob talk about that because he was prepared.
He's
I've
prepared.
been working on this thing for months anyway.
Yeah.
Health fair is coming up in August 17th. Is a Saturday, 9 to 2. It'll be in front of the high school like it was the last few years. So I've got 30-some tables right now reserved for it. So, we're going to pick up from where we left off last year. One of the things at the last meeting that I had talked about with the Master Park Group was how do we promote our parks? And so I really went back and started researching some more. And he talked a little bit about earlier, this guy about, getting kids off the street was how parks came about. But what I'm seeing across our country, parks are taking on a different avenue of promoting their parks, of the health benefits of having parks in your community. And I had a doctor here I looked at, and I thought that really hit me home. It says if we had a medicine that delivered as many benefits as parks, we would be all taking it. Parks deliver cardiovascular benefits, fight loneliness, combat osteoporosis, counter stress, anxiety, and mental, and much more. And they do those things without the adverse side effects. So when I really started thinking about looking at parks differently than just a park, what are the benefits of a park? So, as we have our table this year, instead of just saying, here's the pamphlets and here's the parks, campaign for what the benefits of using our park systems are. And I'm seeing a lot of cities, the green space, what it's creating. I mean, if you look at Samaritan Health, what they put in the talking gardens and that, when I was going through my infusions, I was sitting there looking at a meditation park. So as we go forward with our parks, I think that's a value for us to advertise our parks in such a manner that this is the benefits of coming to a park. It builds healthy bones. It builds healthy muscles, mentally reduces your stress and your anxiety. So I think that's a good point. Even going into the health fair this year, I would challenge us to put up some posters on our tables to that effect. That's the benefits of our parks. But
Yeah, I just add on to that about the parks. At a conference I was at recently, there was a U.S. Surgeon General report done in 2023. I have to go read this. It's about an epidemic of loneliness in the United States. And the parks were one of the biggest things to help break that, was how to get people out of this thing where they don't go out or sitting in front of their television and get out and talk to people. And
Reconnects the social aspect of it. My wife and I, we just got back from Hawaii. We spent 2 weeks over there. But on the trip, we're talking, but everybody on that plane is this. We got to the beach and I was just shocked at how many people, we're sitting here looking at the beauty of Kauai and the waterfalls, and the people on the beach are doing this. And I thought, you are missing what this is about. So, yeah.
Can I add one thing? So first off, I love you guys so much. I think that's such a wonderful perspective and way to look at this. So as part of my job, I look at economic developments daily and, livability and so forth. And there's a direct correlation between a city that's considered to be more livable and that rates as happier by the number of parks per capita. That's actually one of the biggest indicators. And we currently are very low on the number of parks that we have in our community in comparison to our population. But we've seen, with Sankey Park and things that have happened at Northside and some of the other things, we're seeing more people already attending these parks and doing events. And even at the safety fair, we had a birthday party at the same time, and it's exciting to see that. And if we want to look at something that's going to be really impactful to both increasing happiness in our community and mental health, as you mentioned, but also just increasing our understanding of livability here, parks is one of our number one things to look at. So I think that's awesome. And you guys are amazing. So,
And the other thing with park systems is it is one of the most accessible things for people that have low incomes. That's one of the things I picked up on, that it was accessible to people with low incomes. Parks is their key,
That's exactly why the homeless go to the park, because it's a mental release, it's calm. And
So,
Chairman, if I can add, back when I did educational programs outdoors, I read a series of books, and little brain fog this morning. I can't remember all three names of them, but one of them was called Vitamin N. And it's basis on the mental and physical health benefits, specifically centered around children, but, children with disabilities, mental and physical disabilities, and what it does for them, being outdoors in nature. So it kind of goes along with what Bob was saying, but it's a great series of books. I have tabs all over it, just when I used to promote my outdoor activities. And it's, like I said, it emphasizes the health benefits to everyone and getting them out, and the peacefulness of it and the mindfulness of it. And so, I highly commend you for wanting to do that. So that was a big emphasis of what I was trying to promote for many years. So,
And I just want to say something, Kelsey. Most of you know she has a autistic son, Jackson. I'm going to cry. But watching him at the park, especially even when it rained, running up and down the sidewalk, just so happy with all the people there, the rain, the bicycles, and it just warmed my heart to see how happy he was.
well, it's connecting our children back to the environment, that connection. I remember our parks here as I was growing up that, we had a lot of bird boxes in the parks up in the trees for nesting and that. And I'm thinking, there's an opportunity at some point for us maybe to hands-on make some nesting boxes and put them back up to promote wildlife to come back into that,
that would be such a neat project to do with our youth as well. And, or community volunteers
Yeah.
who wanted to join.
Get them back
that.
up in the parks. And field trips was a big thing. Is growing up that was a thing for schools to have field trips. And field trips is kind of not something that happens a lot anymore. But the way we're developing our parks, I could see that's an opportunity to get our school districts connected. Maybe the lower elementary and the middle schools connected back into using those parks for field trips. So I think we got some great stuff happening.
Yep.
So what was the date of the health fair again?
August 17th, Saturday.
9 to 2.
9 to 2. Set up at 8.
I'm happy to
You happy to be there?
I'm happy to be there if somebody wants
I'll-
to
I'm
join
sure I'll
me,
be
and,
there.
Nancy, you and I did it last year.
I like
I
it.
will give
It's
it a
fun.
try.
Okay. And
We'll have some birdhouses there.
Hey.
we do have some. I went and found, some of the latest research on parks and
Mhm.
benefits to health. And I think there's still some pictograms and some easy to look at flyers in the box. But
Yeah.
I can get us shifted and ready for the health fair
All right.
after we do cut the gut. So
It'd be cool to have some pictures too of kids playing.
yeah,
you
we
know,
can I
mentally,
think we can do
that
that.
type of stuff.
But we should reset the swag, especially for the health fair, because the kids are getting their backpacks and it's kind of a back to school. So maybe some more pencils, rulers, things like that.
Should be a lot of kids there this year because we do have the backpack program coming back. We have the Samaritan Medical students will be there promoting kids and activities with kids. So we're going to have them grouped in.
We can touch base.
Yeah, we
and
can
just
take a
see
look.
what's in
Yeah.
there. And
Okay, I think we're good for the health fair. It's a little ways out, but it's good to hit on these things and start talking about it before we get there. Speaking about talking about things that are coming, the Harvest Festival is coming up, and the only thing that I do know that I confirmed with
Angela.
it's way too early in the morning. I don't, yeah, and I was gonna say that, and I'm like, that's not the right name. And I'm like, I don't know why I was thinking that, but
I have a few, but this
I
is the
got
one
you
I
back.
got.
I got
What's
you
in
back,
your
Wally.
coffee?
yeah, that's probably the problem.
I
There
wanna know
isn't
what's in
anything in
that.
there.
Know that. No.
I confirm we're doing the pie competition again.
Yes.
So
It's
That's-
October 5th, the first Saturday in October.
10-5.
All of the registrations for the bake-offs, the cook-offs, the vendors will open July 1st, Monday, July 1st. So
Wow.
that's when everybody can start registering. I'm still working on a few of the flyers and just some of the logistics. There may be a few things that change, but I don't know yet. So as it gets a little bit closer, I'll kind of verify that all with you guys. But yep, still same thing, as long as you guys are willing to do that. And as it gets closer, we'll touch base on duties and times and all of that. So
Yep. So when I get back, I'll start working on the judges again. I just want to say again, the key part to the judging is getting the right people together to do the judging that create just from watching it now for a couple of years, watching the judges interact with each other and who's there and then how they interact with the public afterwards. So I got to make sure we don't get judges that are isolated, phone people and are not willing to then get out and walk around. I love seeing Sheriff Duncan there. She actually has a really good sense of humor and then goes out and talks to people, which is nice seeing the sheriff at our event and having that interaction. And then I always try to get a couple characters that cause problems and
No.
that's fun. So the idea is to make,
So you're a judge then.
I could have been, yeah.
If he can remember his name.
Huh? Yeah. The other thing is on the Harvest Festival, I know I'll have my two boys there to help line out vendors and park people in the morning. Anybody else, if you're just thinking about it, October 5th starts early in the morning. We usually show up about 7 and start lining things out and seeing where things are set up at. It's actually a big project. So, and it seems like this year it's getting bigger and bigger. Last year was enormous. So I don't expect it to be any smaller this year. So
yeah, to put it in perspective, when I first took it over, we maybe had 20 vendors that would show up. Last year I had 68. I actually had to turn off the vendor registration to count because I didn't know if I was going to be able to fit them in. And then I opened it back up once I figured it out because I started counting them and went, I don't know where I'm going to put all this. So I have ideas so we can expand even more this year. But yeah, I was in a little bit of a panic. It's a good panic. It was a very positive panic, but I was still in a little bit of a panic. So it is a production and all the volunteer help is phenomenal. I mean, we kind of have a lot of the logistics down, which is nice. There's a few things we have to tweak every year, but just the team that we have, internal team and the volunteers have been phenomenal. And that's why it works. And that's why we've been able to improve it every single year. So, you know, I appreciate you guys running the pie booth and just the volunteer in the morning, your kids. And so just keep growing. Eventually, we're going to run out of room in the park, but so maybe by then we'll have Corey done and we'll move it down there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But for now, it's just, I've had people bugging me since January about signing up and doing things. It's like, okay, just keep watching the website, you know, July 1st. And so, yeah, so people are already just chomping at the bit to get signed up. So, which is good.
Well, Angela, I can remember the first ones we had, it was on the bridge only, and we had popcorn. That was it. That was it.
Yeah, no,
Now look at it.
I actually used to have a booth.
Yeah.
And there, you know, with my students, and we used to
Yep.
have fishing stuff. But yeah, no, it's grown, and I'm, you know, we haven't, like I said, we have an excellent team here. Public Works is huge. I mean, they do a lot of the groundwork for me. Just the executive team, you know, like I said, it's a huge team effort, and it's phenomenal. It's
Good.
It's a lot of work, and I'm pretty sure that's where a lot of my gray hair comes from. But it's actually one of the events I look forward to every
Yeah,
year.
it's great.
So I really do. So.
Okay, so that kind of just put that on your calendar, make sure it's in, and think about not only yourselves, but anyone else that would be a volunteer for it, because there's a lot of work to get done that day, and it takes a lot of volunteers to make it happen. So I'm going to move on to this Harper's Playground training event. I'm going to start it with something that they did there that was, it changed the way I thought about things or remembered stuff. So I just want everybody in the room, think about when you were a kid. Think about that one person that you went and did something with. Actually, hold on. I got one question for Greg because I know he has to go to the water treatment plant. I wrote it down here. Are we still on at some point this year for the boat takeout getting closed down at the Pleasant Valley Bridge for the water treatment plant?
No, not right
No.
now,
Okay.
but stay tuned. It could happen early next year.
Okay.
So
It was something haunting in the back of my head. Like, do we need to
no.
help
not at
do
this
some
time.
publicity
Actually,
for that?
it's been very busy. A lot of steelhead fishermen have been down there last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
A lot of people using
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and it's been great.
Right.
So,
Okay. Thanks, Greg.
yeah, thank you, guys.
So back to being a kid. Think about that one person, not a group, but that one person that you went and did things with. Once you have that name picked out, I want you to think about that thing you remember doing with them. What was that thing that was so fun that you as a kid remember that crystal clear? Like when we went and played, this is what we did.
Now do we cry now?
No, no. So Adam, what was the thing that you did as a kid that was fun?
So for me, it was spending time at the drag strip.
Yep. Okay. Dave. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not one. We had 3 months.
Right.
Middle school.
Yeah.
That's what we did. I had friends that we did things when we.
Yep.
Yeah.
Matthew?
Climbing through swamps, chasing frogs and snakes.
Yeah.
With my brother. Yeah.
Yep. Angela, because I remember your name for sure.
Where I grew up in Idaho, we have a lake just outside of town, and we get up in the morning, we'd all jump on our bikes, ride the 4 miles to the lake, wouldn't return till dark, and we'd all be wet and, you know, had fish and all kinds of stuff that we'd haul back with us. So yeah, we were
Yep.
all over the place. So
Deb?
Oh, my. Well, mine reverts back to grandparents. It's either when I was like 3 and 4 helping my great grandmother weeding the flower bed, or it could be with my other grandparents going shrimping at the coast,
Mhm.
playing on the jetty. I
Yeah.
think that would be the most fun.
And Diane?
I was a swim rat So I would go to the pool and spend all day at the pool from sunup to sundown. Pretty much all day.
Thank you all. So, no, I don't get to do everyone. Doggone it. But I just want to point something out. I went to the event, as you can read on the thing, it was called Harper's Playground. What was the one thing that was missing that everybody reported on?
Something to play on.
A play structure. Nobody talks about going and playing on a playground thing. It's weird, but every person in that room up there in Portland talked about interacting with nature. And how you interlink nature with a park is not that hard. And it's pretty amazing. I was shocked. We went to this, I think it was a $4.3 million playground in Vancouver, which is the same one that I had went to and looked at. And it was a lot of reasons it cost that much, but beside the point, they had a hill in it, and the hill had a padding under it. And it was I call it like indoor outdoor carpeting, like a turf covered area. Something that you could, and it was smooth all the way. You could put a wheelchair, roll it right up the hill or anything else. You know what all the kids in that playground were playing on? And there was a ton of things to play on. They were all on that hill with cardboard. They were sliding down that hill, and I saw kids probably up to 20, 25 years old. I saw parents up there sliding with their kids. On the backside of the hill was 2 metal slides. I never saw a person go down that the whole time we were there. We went to 2 other parks. Nobody was on the slides, but they had one of those hills in every park, and people of all ages and of all abilities. The way you get onto that, they actually have it's just a standard concrete thing that you would roll a wheelchair up, or somebody could take a walker up, and there's a little wall around it. So you could slide. I watched people slide out of the wheelchair, slide onto a piece of cardboard and go down the hill and laugh their butt off the whole time. I mean, just having a ball. So it was a big deal to me to notice that. And they pointed it out. And as we drove around Portland, they would point out, and it's not exactly like the playground structures that we have in like Sankey, but just, I call them cheap playground structures and parks, and nobody was on them. They were out playing. Kids were playing in the dirt and having fun and playing around things and water areas. And there's a real link to nature that kids enjoy. And in fact, even myself, I never ever thought of something I'd done on a playground, and I'd done a lot. So that was an eye opener. Another thing that I learned in doing this, so Harper is the guy's daughter, and he didn't really go into it, what all was the problem with her, why, but she's 25 now, and she has a walker, and so she's had, and the reason they started this was they had everyone can go to playground back in the day, and they have a picture of her trying to go down the bark chips, and she's stuck and she can't get any farther. And she's just disgusted at this point. And that was what made them start this Harper's Playground. And how do we get there? And they went through, in this event, they started at, okay, how did we start? And they took it through, they started with a bake sale. That was for the $4.3 million facility, their park that they built. Now, they have a lot of large sponsors in Portland, and they had a lot of work to do, and they had other things that were in the park that were not all included in that. But man, I don't normally get emotional, but seeing that story and watching it in the park, not only, this was the thing that caught my eye. They have wood in the park. So they have a couple play structures. But they would take actual, it's a hardwood tree. I have it written down, whatever the name of the thing was. I think there were cedars, but they actually made structures out of it. And then like the hand over hand rings that you go across, they were just bored into those. So they kept the nature there with the wood, and they left wood like I saw everybody do this here. Everybody looked at this and then they put their hands on this. And those tactile features that were in that park were enormous to people. And throughout that park, there's turtles all over it, and they're brass turtles. And it's something they have a guy that makes them for them. And when you look at it, you can see, if you just look at the turtle, it's obvious where everybody comes up and rubs the turtle's head. And it's all polished brass. And the rest of it's that greenish, you know, yeah, the old turtle look. Yeah. So they have an enormous amount of that, but there was no difference between people that special needs people and those with full abilities playing together. They have and the thing that got me that I remember, because everybody complains about it. I'm sure most of you are old enough, and even Roman, I found a couple for him. I don't remember the name of the official name for it, but the little wheel thing that sits out there. They used to have the bars on it, and you'd get on, and somebody would run.
Oh, yeah.
Merry-go-round, didn't we call it?
Yeah, maybe, except there wasn't a horse on it.
Right.
So I was confused there. But, and everybody got hurt. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
One of those bars hit you somewhere. Somebody tried to jump on, got
Yeah.
thrown off. I mean, those things were fun. And there has to be some level of danger and fear.
Mhm.
And he talked about that. And it's his kid that this started with. And he said, even Harper doesn't want to just go play where everything's safe and you can't get hurt at all. And you have to have some level. Well, they took the merry-go-round and they put it in the ground. It's ground level. Of course, it's the AstroTurf around the edges and it's tight. And then they have two devices in the middle of it. And when I'm saying in the middle, there was one on each side that you just rotated up. And you could roll a wheelchair or somebody with a walker thing, and then it comes back down behind them. And in the middle, they have a wheel so they could spin it.
Grab it, turn it.
Well, the videos that they showed of the park, and we saw this while they were there, the stuff people were doing on it was not safe. You would have people hanging off the side, kicking with one foot, with somebody in a wheelchair in the middle, and it was a riot to watch, and everybody was having fun. So I think the key thing that I took away from it was that everybody thinks, oh, we need to build special need features in a park. You just need to build a park that everybody can go play in, and you need to focus on a little bit of danger, but you don't want to kill someone. So
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to stop at that point. Yeah. Even the person putting the park together, we went to one that was in downtown Portland. I don't know where we were. I mean, we were somewhere near 405, and there's a small Harper's Park that's there. And by the way, Harper's Park, that's just her name, and they actually do this. They help build parks. They assist. They're brought in as consultants, and then they'll help, and they can do anything that you want for them to do, or they can just give you some guidance like they did for us. They give us workshops and books on how do you do this stuff. But at that park, actually, that was in Vancouver. I'm wrong. The one in Vancouver, they had rock stones. They said the name of them. They're a basalt pillar. And even when he went and looked at it, he said, I don't know if you should have put those pillars in, because the kids walk on them and they jump from one to the next. And he goes, but how many kids don't see the edge of that pillar? I mean, every kid sees the edge of that pillar. They could get, slip, fall, bust their face on it. And he said, and you know how many reports we have of anybody getting hurt on it? Nobody. He said, it's amazing that, we do these things. They took a fire hose and they built it into a crisscross pattern, and then they laid cedar logs down, and they had those screwed in, on the side. So it made a netting, a flat netting. And I thought it was, I was looking at it like, I guess the kids climb across it and do this and that. And then I saw what kids do. They had one girl get in on one side and then another one got on the log and jumped and landed on her butt and shot the other one off the other side.
How fun.
And he said, we didn't have a plan for that.
Mhm.
That wasn't part of the idea. He said they just did it. So, I will say I went, and I looked at the, they call it the wheelchair swing, a way to swing. And we've looked at one here. We've talked about it. I've looked at them all over the place. And he said, oh, we built this one and it's safe. And there was an engineer there that was with us. I don't remember. He and I were walking around it during it. And yeah, the side you walk up on was safe. But if somebody walked around to the backside, you could have your ankle destroyed. And the engineer and I both looked at each other and went, no, it's still not safe. They still haven't, you would had to have sealed it all the way around. I think you could get there with the device they have, but it looks outrageously expensive. And I think you should focus more on natural structures for people to play on. I mean, because they had a lot of that there. They actually have a fire engine that's there, and they took the fire engine and they cut the cab off and then they cut the middle out of the fire engine and they sandwiched the two ends together. And this was somebody who was part of the fire department from years ago and was extremely well off, and he donated that to him. And then we looked at it. We stood there and looked at it for the longest time. Oh, I was there with Matt. We couldn't figure out what it was for. I mean, it's not like you could do anything with it. There was no handles or anything that did anything. I mean, everything was locked shut. So we got to redesign the park at the end of the conference. And the thing we did was we put a ladder that went up to the top because kids crawled to the top. There were kids jumping off it when we were there, which, it's, well, I mean, it's as high as the bottom of that beam and kids are jumping off, which to me is no big deal. But I saw other parents, with this look, it's like, come on, they're flexible. They don't get hurt. But we thought if they just had a ladder and a fire pole on the end, you go up the ladder, run over to the fire pole, grab it and slide down. I could see kids doing that all day long. So that was our redesign of it. They had a flower garden that was in there that was in a raised bed, but it wasn't just flowers. They were different types of plants that all worked well together. And they linked with nature. They were ones for bees and stuff. And it was something else for somebody could roll up to and look at, or anyone else can walk up to and look at and feel it. And the idea was everything you want to touch. They had trees, cedar stumps or cedar poles, and they were stacked up, just one after another going up and then down. And I remember watching younger kids, 2 and 3 year olds learning to walk and get around. I don't know where I was. I mean, I've seen this everywhere, and they practice walking on those things. It's how they build their agilities. And those are the things that I saw in the park. And the one thing that I didn't understand, they're using steel for slides. And I asked him about it because the day we were there, it was in the 80s. And I said, why do you use steel? Doesn't it get really, really hot? And he goes, yeah, it gets really, really hot. And we put them all facing north so they don't get as hot. I'm like, if the sun hits it, it's hot, And so I put my hand on it and it was like, yeah, I'm not going down that. I mean, that's hot. And so we move along to the next park. I just talked to the guy about it. And at the next park, the engineer brought it up because it was at that park. By the way, nobody was going down slides at any park we went to. And they were all roasting hot. And he says, well, not only is it hot, I mean, it's not hot all day. It's not hot in the evening. It's not hot in the morning. And he goes, and there's some point a kid's got to learn what's hot. And I'm like, well, how about we don't set them up? You know what I mean? Why don't we make it out of aluminum, which doesn't hold the heat as bad because your structures and your other things are all fairly cool. So that was the one. It was the only thing that I found in their park system that they were doing that I thought, well, that's stupid. I don't know why you would make a steel slide, but they have them everywhere and they're doubles. So you can go up, there's a way for people to Because again, it goes to a platform. So somebody in a walking device or a wheelchair can roll right up, slide out, go over there, and the person that's with them or their friends, which is the more important. And believe me, they were kids there that didn't know the person. And then when they were going to go down, other kids ran over to go with them. And, and this was on the cardboard and they were all sliding down the cardboard together. But they could do the same thing on the slides. Just we were there in the afternoon. Nobody was touching that slide. So the point I'd like to make from that, and I have the information, everything from how they do the budgets, how they develop the parks, the whole thing on how it's done, was the fact that it wasn't built just for special needs. Nothing was made like, oh, this only works for special needs people. This works for everyone, and everyone was having fun at it together. And even the swing that I saw, they had a swing, and it had, if you could just imagine, 2 large arches that went over, and then 4 corners, they had big cables that came down to what I would refer to as, like, imagine a turtle shell upside down, that people could get into. And Matt and this other guy got in there and they just went nuts, swinging all over the place. Not this Matthew, another Matt from town. Yeah. Oh, anybody would. And people were just going nuts in it. And then I remember in the resort that we went to in Cabo, when you went into this water area, they had the same thing. I mean, and they were just nice things and people were lounging in them. Others were swinging in them. Kids were jumping in and out of them. Of course, they were in water. That's what it was designed for, was to build that link with nature. But going to that park and then looking at other parks, it was amazing to see the difference and watch people and how people were playing together with nature more than they were on structures. And structures were used. I mean, there were people swinging in every park we went to. That seems to be a big deal. And I think it's because you get that little, whatever it's called, that you get, when you get going real high and swings through, and everybody likes that. It's that little bit of fear.
There's adrenaline rush.
Yeah, you have to have that. So it was a real eye opener for me to go and see the difference between what I was thinking was special needs things and what it really can be. And nothing looked hard to make. I mean, it all looked pretty simple. They didn't do anything that was, they had some structural things that were expensive, I'm sure. I think he said, I have the numbers here, but I think like the merry-go-round was 43,000 was what they charged for that. It was made in Germany. And I looked at it and went, it's a merry-go-round with a bearing in the center. And you just need to keep the bearing encased with good grease points, probably. I mean, I was mechanically looking at it like, I don't need to buy something from Germany. I could take a picture of this and our public works could build it. It's simple. Well, at least I could build it. It may not look very good, but so I think that as we go forward with parks and park designs, it's something that we should be thinking about on how we put stuff in and what kids, work with. The other thing, they had a lot of musical stuff there. It's a thing, is it a xylophone with the different link things on them? And they said they have the same problem in every park. Some knucklehead comes along, and even though they've cabled them, they cut the cables and take the little knocker off, which kids then find a stick and bang on them. They use nature. So there was a lot of that. There was a lot of art in the park, and it's just something that when you went through, it was like it was all intertwined. So, and the turtle was just he said, but I don't remember why, but that was something you saw in every park we went to, was the turtle. And the one turtle had a walker, and the turtle had its arm out like this, and then he flashed it up, and that was the same picture of Harper in the walker I got chills thinking about that. It was like, because then there's another picture of a kid up on the platform where that's at, in a walker, not Harper, pointing at it with the same thing, like, that's me. I couldn't get around. So
Every part.
yeah, Yeah, it's important to think about that, I think. Like, we don't have to build it. You don't have to build something special for people. You just have to build it for everyone.
Hmm.
And then everyone can play together. So,
Good.
yeah, and I'll share this stuff.
Did you take a breath during that?
Huh?
Did you take a breath during that?
Yes. Hey, that was one of the, I haven't been to a conference in years that had that much,
Very
you know,
good.
that you got out of it when you were done. It was like, wow, I actually understood that. They explained it really well. And there were people at the conference. There were even 2 people from Mexico that came up there. And the one guy and I exchanged a bunch of stuff because I talked to him about, I was on we were on playgrounds down in Mexico in March. And I watched our group, because after he said nobody plays on the play structures for long, I remember watching our group because I looked at the play structures and I thought, wow, they have better play structures in Mexico than we do in Sweet Home, you know, things to play on. But then when I thought back to it, I remember I watched the kids. They walked into that end of the structures and they each went one by one down through the structures. And then they all left and they went out and they played games out in the park. You know, it was like the structure was neat. They played on it a few seconds. Okay, it wobbles, it wiggles, it jumps, and then they went on. So
So Wally, if you want to give me that information, then
Yeah.
I can scan it all and
sure.
send it out to
Yep.
everybody
Good.
if you want to.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. No, that was enlightening.
That's good.
Thank you.
Like
Yeah,
it.
that was good.
So if anybody has any questions over that stuff, feel free to ask. As we go forward and talk about parks, I want to sit down with Sean and with him and talk about it, because I know he went to a bunch of park stuff, training things beforehand to know how we put the parks together and what's legal and what's not. And I want to show him what I saw and talk about some things, because I think we can do things more economically than we think we can. Because that was amazing. And a lot of the stuff I looked at, I went, well, I mean, for Pete's sakes, if you can do this, you can do what
Right.
they were doing. So
Good.
pretty
Awesome.
cool thing to go see.
All right.
I'm ready to build something.
Yeah. Okay, now we'll move on to a roundtable discussion.
I have something.
Yeah.
And Angela and I have been working on this, and that was the best segue that I think we could have possibly had.
Oh,
So, Adam, would you go ahead and put this up? Okay. So this is and let me talk you through it so that you can understand exactly what we're talking about here. So we are looking at building the park in 42nd and Osage. And first off, Wally, thank you for that whole piece. As Nancy already kind of alluded to and so forth, looking for inclusive parks and being involved in inclusive parks has been my last 15 years. My son Jackson was originally told he wouldn't survive past birth, he wouldn't survive past 6 months, and then he wouldn't be able to walk. He's had to have multiple surgeries. He is autistic, and mobility has been an issue for us since he was little. And we started looking for parks where he could be included. When he got older, and anybody who knows Jackson, it's kind of unbelievable to think that there was a thought that he wouldn't be able to walk. When he got older and we were in San Antonio, there's an amazing place called Morgan's Wonderland. And I'd also recommend you all take a look at that too. It's an amusement park, but it's full of playgrounds and every single ride is inclusive. So you can, but it's for everybody, just like you said, it's not just for special needs, it's for everybody. One of the things that was amazing with watching my Jackson at that park was his feeling of comfort. Like you said, knowing that this was a place that he was welcome and that it was for him as well as for his brother, as well as for their friends. And that was something that we could all do together. While I got to help with building that particular park and looking at some things that were inclusive and so forth, while we were in San Antonio, I was in a horrible accident and broke my skull, my ribs, my hip, all kinds of things. And so I had mobility issues as well for a while. And Jackson was the one who guided me through some of those pieces to understand what it's like to kind of be through that. And even now, I love to hike, I love to do things, but there's times that my hip and other things still bother me and I need to relax and stop. And being able to be in a place where you can do what you need to do in a structure or in a location that's going to be supportive of whatever that is such a gift, and having access like that. And I know that a lot of you also can relate to all of these pieces. So I'm going to walk you through this structure a little bit and explain some of our thoughts too. And this is one of the things that we're talking about for phase one. Be aware that this is phase one and it's a step. It's not the $4.5 million park. In fact, this is actually because of some of the revenue that we're bringing in and the grants and the volunteering. This is going to be pretty much free.
Awesome.
So, so that's an important piece to understand. So I'm going to walk over there.
There we go.
Okay, thanks. All right, that works. Okay, so this is a swing that is a love seat swing. So grandparents, pregnant mothers, couple, somebody nursing a baby, anybody can be on this swing. As long as you don't have to be strapped into it. Then this is actually a sensory cove. It has a little bit of movement. You can climb on top of it. You can climb in it. You can climb under it. You can stand on it and jump off of it. There's all sorts of things. It's not prescriptive on how you utilize this piece. Here's a slide because at the end of the day, there's half of our kids love to go down that slide. It is not steel though, it is plastic, so it won't get hot. This piece is a little balance board. It's on springs. So it not only is, for balance, but you can even as an adult work your core on those various pieces. You can play in it. This is a climbing structure that's 8 feet tall. So as younger kids, hopefully parents are going to be watching them and it won't get too high, but there's that little bit of fear aspect just that you talked about. This is the type of thing that when my kids were younger, I would have absolutely loved to climb with them and have that type of inclusive piece there. What we also want to do, and you can't see this because of the rendering, is you all saw that gorgeous bench out front, having a wooden bench. And then what we've been talking about with Public Works is creating a wooden climbing structure, stumps, and some other pieces around this.
Yeah.
So what's cool about this is most ages could use something like this. We don't have something for someone in a wheelchair yet, but we're hoping that that could be in phase 2. And we've been talking quite a bit about being able to have some space right off of the parking lot there that could have something like that. We've also been talking about an inclusive swing that doesn't necessarily hold a wheelchair, but does hold somebody who's been using a walker or has some mobility issues. I used to use that a lot with Jackson, and they're even just wonderful for a kid who might have elopement pieces and take off. It can just provide that additional bit of security. So looking at that as well. Behind this, there is space for a sports court. And one of the things that we have been getting a lot of requests for that would be cool to consider is actually volleyball. We don't have a volleyball court anywhere. And if we were to do a beach volleyball with the sand, it would not only not be expensive, but it would also add one more sensory piece. We could have little kids building sand castles. We could have things like that. And that could be right behind it. And they're not expensive. It's just a few $1,000s to put in a beach volleyball court. That would also give our teens something to potentially do. Right behind that is a whole line of trees and an area where we can put a trail that goes down into those woods there and back. So all of this potential park, we have some volunteers who want to help. We have some grant funds and so forth. We could put in this entire park for, like I said, pretty much free and just time and effort. So thoughts?
Awesome.
Yeah, I just want to say that volleyball idea.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you saw, happened to look back at my son, but that got great big grins and head nodding because I take him multiple times to Sunnyside.
I was
Nice.
just gonna mention
And
that Sunnyside.
They go
Park.
there
Yeah.
and play volleyball and it's always packed with volleyballs, people playing.
Yep.
And I just bought him a volleyball. He said, hey, can you get us a volleyball? You know, because a lot of times we're playing with a soccer ball, and not a volleyball. And they play that out there. And I'm amazed at how many high schoolers are out there playing volleyball.
I've been out there. We used to meet just friends. I mean, I moved here when I was 38. So,
Yeah.
but we used to meet out there. It's like, let's go play volleyball. And we'd set up camp just to go out there and play. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Good.
it's fun.
That's good.
So thoughts?
Like it a
I
lot.
like it.
Cool.
It's a great idea.
Simple and nice.
Very good.
The other piece that I kind of put in as one of our city manager goals is we have talked about trying to make sure that as we're moving forward, that each park starts to get some sort of inclusive piece. And what you said about making sure that it's for everybody, I think is really critical because we don't want to have it, oh, this is the special needs equipment.
Yes.
We want to have it that this is a place that is going to support everyone. And so I think looking at some swings and some other things that could work for people, or like, I love the spinning idea. So Jackson, ever since he was little, he would climb something like that and jump off of it. He would do the spinny thing and try to get everybody to go faster and then let go and see what happens. Yes, he's had some injuries and stuff, but the proprioceptic therapy that kind of gives, it's been worth it
Yeah.
as well. So I think it's very cool that you all are wanting to look at this, and I think we're
That's great.
very much on board on trying to get this
Yeah.
going too. So, all right, I'll go back to my seat now. Thank you.
It used to.
Yeah, Sankey Park used to have that turnaround. Because when I was growing up, we got on it all the time. It was a simple round disc with a centerpiece. You probably remember it with some bars on you, foot power.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love those.
So
Yeah.
Google says the spinny things at playgrounds are merry-go-rounds.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Okay. We don't have to have a horse.
We could have
Okay.
horses.
We could.
Spinny things.
Yeah. Well, I'm just telling you what I saw up there. They were places for somebody with special needs that could get onto stuff. And I watched one family, they were on this swing thing that went back and forth. And it was obvious where the special needs people were supposed to get on. And they had one special needs person. Then they had two, I'm just going to call them knuckleheads on the other side. They had somebody standing in the middle helping to rock it. They had people all over this thing. And it looked, I was thinking, and if I was OSHA, I'd have a fit. But they were laughing and joking, and there was the element of fear that you could get knocked off, you know, and but they were just having a ball doing it, and they were all together And the other thing, like you mentioned, the swing, it's for all ages. It was set up so that when everybody goes there, from grandparents to young kids, I mean, babies are kind of out of it, but toddlers and above, they all had something to do or a place to go and a way to get there. In fact, their climbing wall that they had up there, if you could imagine, I'll just call it a metal ribbon. So it wasn't a vertical climbing wall. It was a ribbon that went up and it arched and it rolled around like this, and then it came over and then it went back down. And they said, now, obviously, somebody with special needs is not going to get out and crawl on that wall. But while their friend's doing it, they can roll all around the wall as they're doing it. So they're not up there, they're right here. And when you're inverted climbing, it's hard and you can fall. And I mean, but that was the idea, was they're all together, they stay that way. So that was just cool stuff. So
awesome.
yeah, that's a great idea, putting that in.
Cool.
Yep.
It's interesting what you looked at, because when my wife and I were in Germany, a lot of the parks there were natural with just logs.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted a balance beam, it was a log with a shaved off flat top sitting there for kids. And they were just ones, even logs that were kind of crossed just so they could go up and jump off. They weren't very high, but the
Yeah.
structure was a tripod, 3 logs, eye hook in the middle with the chains and that clamshell they could sit in. So it is all simple, just
Yeah.
like what you were describing.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, I remember him out at Nesco and they had a play structure, but underneath it, they had a tire held on by 3 chains. And he and the other kids out there try to kill each other on that thing. And
Loving it.
That's that bad
Yeah.
word again you're using.
yeah, well, they failed, so it was a safe thing. So, yeah. Okay, well, that sounds great.
Good stuff. I have something about round table.
Yep, go ahead.
We need new polo shirts,
Oh,
plain and simple. And I do wash mine all the time, Trask, and like what you told me at the park, wash your shirt, Nancy. We've had it for a long time. I have a bleach stain on it. It's a little tight, the whole 9 yards. So is there any way that we can all get a new polo shirt, please?
You probably can, but maybe you shouldn't be so much spaghetti on there, and maybe that might help.
Anyway,
Done better now.
and I think Matthew has a girl's shirt or something.
yeah, we talked
I
about
do,
it.
yeah.
We got his squared away. I talked to Angela about his.
Yeah, to
already.
paint it on at the last.
Oh, sure.
event.
I still don't have a polo shirt.
We'll get
Oh.
you one too.
We want
So
tank
part of the
tops.
problem that we had before is the vendor, we had to order so many.
Yeah.
We now do have another vendor, so we can check the budget. I'll leave that up to the powers to do that, but definitely we need to get Matthew one. And then if we get a new, I know we have some applications in. So thank you for being patient with that.
Yeah.
Seasonal
We
shirts.
still like
winter
the-
shirts,
The gray's okay.
flannels.
We like the gray, right?
Yeah, the shirt was, mine has stains on it too, but I don't really care. I mean, that's just me. I'm not a slave to fashion, so I haven't, but
It's
she's
how-
right.
it's how
they are dirty.
How
I
you
mean,
present
and I've
yourself.
washed them multiple times.
Look at
I
that
put
parks
that
board. They don't
spray
look
and
very
wash
good.
on it. That's-
Anyway, that's all I
Yep.
have to say.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Any others? All right, let's call today's meeting closed at 9:54. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Oh, here she comes.